A really cool retired Coast Guard admiral docked next to me for a while, and he was teasing me when he saw me working really hard every day and said, "Brian, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy." And he was right. This episode is all about maintenance.
Landed in Beaufort, and I am glad, or landed in Charleston, and I am glad I'm not at the boat or sailing into this mess that I'm looking at.
Before long, it was raining South Carolina style. With 100% humidity and almost 100 degrees temperature, I knew my first order of business was going to be getting some AC going on the boat before the girls arrived. Well, it's not pretty, but it is dockside AC in South Carolina, and it keeps it from being 100 degrees in here. So we'll take it. This is a 220 inverter, and I'm not going to be using a lot of 220. Even if I travel the world, I'll probably just invest in a big transformer and put it right at the point of offshore or shore power. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to remove all this, and I've purchased a new inverter. Last time I was here, we did this temporary workaround with this little battery charger here and this small little 600 watt inverter. I'm putting a 2000 watt inverter in place, and it's an inverter charger, so I can remove that 220 charger that's in there too. These are actually really good items, so I don't know if I'm going to hang on to them or maybe sell them, but this is a really impressive 220 pure sine wave inverter. Even though it's a little bit older, it's still a quality item. The other thing I've got to work on is, you probably hard to see, but these there's a lot of accessories that are wired directly to the battery, and typically you want your batteries to be pretty pure, and you want to run everything through your battery isolator switch so that you can turn everything off as needed. I don't know what all that stuff goes to, but I'm going to figure it out. Alright, we're working on the inverter here. We're going to be installing this bad boy, Victron Energy. It's one of the top inverter chargers you can get. Having to build these brackets here to hold it. It can be mounted vertically or horizontally. We're going to mount it at an angle. Vertically gives the most heat dissipation, so at least at a slight angle the hot air will still rise and vent out. Plus I have these vents already in place here to help get rid of the heat. And the big thing is just building a bracket in here so it mounts really solid and won't move around or shift or rattle at all when we're in rough seas. So this project only took me 5 hours longer than expected trying to wire it in, but that little yellow LED says we're in charge mode. Batteries are charging. Refrigerator works. Water heater will work. Microwave circuit. The little LEDs aren't working though. These should be lighting up. Hot water heater works. These three should be working. The microwave's on, so the circuits are on. more troubleshooting.
If it was just my son Joe coming to visit, I probably wouldn't have felt so obligated to fix the cheesy repair job I saw on the toilet. But I opened a can of worms.
So this is the life of a boater. Had to go get a hose, walk 2 miles there, 2 miles back in 95-degree weather in South Carolina. The only perk is I got to eat at Dairy Queen there, kind of a personal favorite. But it made me even think about buying one of those collapsible bikes, because I find myself walking all over the planet now. But if I didn't get this hose, I wouldn't have a toilet that worked. And there was another part that was causing a leak in the fresh water system. So running water and plumbing kind of makes it worth the walk, and the burger too.
Two-day-old hamburgers and chicken, and it smells really bad, even though it was attempted to be frozen, because I forgot to turn up that little frickin' dial in there. And so now I was gonna eat. I can't eat, but I'm considering going for this anyways, because it probably has preservatives in it, right? It's packaged. I don't know.
Yay, the girls finally arrived. They were so excited to be here. At least Jody dug right into fixing the upholstery and redoing that top strip.
Got a case of water on my back. Feels pretty dang heavy. And I've got a couple 2 liters of Diet Coke so my girls can have some soda. I've got a 2-mile walk ahead of me back to the marina. Kind of feels like the old Army Ruck March days back when I was a medic.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
So they all showed up last night, and these are my girls. This is Abby and Emma, and my wife Jody, and they have already started in on these projects. And right now we are getting rid of this nasty old freezer and fridge, and we are going to put a new one in. So we're making our home, right, ladies?
Yep.
The previous owner had wedged seashell placemats to hold the old fridge in. We needed real brackets like you see here. I salvaged a fan that I'd figure out how to use later.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of this refrigerator project. I wired in, I don't know if you can see it, a fan up there. So when there's excessive heat, really hot weather, we can turn that fan on to help evacuate some of the heat from the refrigerator compressor. And then I built this base in here so that the base is fully secure. You know, should be a pretty tight fit to get in there. And then I'll put a brace across the top of the refrigerator going from here to there, and that'll keep us in rough weather from losing our fridge. So oh, and I put all this heat shielding in as well, because I noticed that the top of this and the sides of this got really hot as the heat built up in there, and there's no point in having extra heat in the cabin trying to stay cool. So those are all the things I did. I should have good access, and I'm going to leave it wired for a it'll still be wired for freezer if we decide to put a freezer in above that. My beautiful daughters. I'm sad they're leaving in a couple days. Right, Abby?
Right.
And look at the moon out there. It's a nice evening here.
Fire grease.
3rd of July.
Well, it's actually the 3rd of July.
Say hi, Mama. Poke your head around.
Jody and the girls did a ton of work. They got the whole boat cleaned up. They set it up to make it feel like home. Emma put on the decal for what will eventually be Freebird's home port in Coos Bay, Oregon. And then she rigged Old Glory up so we have our flag.
Now today's project is propane solenoid repair. Actually removal. Look at that. It's super corroded. This whole pressure regulators are corroded. It's kind of what it looks like. These are nice aluminum tanks that I still need to get recertified, but right now we kind of got to take care of this thing. It's pretty nasty. Okay, today's project. A little bit of more wiring, putting in new lights. I did that one in a previous time, and we're replacing all these. If you look at this, you can see actually where it actually was pretty hot. It discolored that. It's cracked a little bit, so putting in these LED lights will not be nearly as hot. Yeah, a couple of them these old lights were bright, but a couple of them were really dim anyways. So I'm hoping to get a lot more light and better efficiency with lower wattage, which is always key. I'm going to end up replacing all of these kind of lights in here. All those, plus down the other side, so about 8 lights total. The size of these lights in the kitchen, but they're not bright at all, and they're just kind of not looking too good. I hope when I pull this off that I don't have to get the same size light replacement, but they're just kind of old and dingy, and they've been painted over and just don't look very good. So we'll replace those, as well as the 2 in this other bedroom. This one doesn't work, and that one's does work, but again, it's a dim old one. I am replacing a light that had shorted out because there was a leak up above. I already fixed the spot where the water was trickling down in, and hopefully that won't happen anymore. It doesn't seem to have been. It's rained several times, so yeah, and this light's going to have a motion sensor in it. You're going to wire it up. I solder all my connections and use heat shrink tubing so that basically it's a waterproof connection, and then we'll have this fancy little motion light. So the fact is, I pretty much suck at soldering, but even a crappy soldering job is better than most other connections. And the glue's activated and it's pretty much waterproof, so it'll work. And there it is, new light, all installed. It's really bright. I don't know if I want that to use that motion sensing feature. It was scaring me in the middle of the night. It really lights things up nicely. Cool. Okay, this episode should be called like spaghetti. So, I just took all these wires down. They were actually all up here. And this was, you probably can't see that very well. That is the hood. And these are very corroded. There was a switch there that wasn't working right, but you can see how corroded that is on the ends, and it just doesn't even work anymore. So I am installing this switch here that is a lot more, call it boat weather resistant, because everything's humid and salty around here. I'm installing those that LED light, and I'm going to install another LED light here. As I took these down, these are the ones that were up there, and they're about as bright. So that's just kind of a fun little project I'm working on right now. So you can see here with this wire that everything's pretty corroded. I don't know if you can see the green in there and all the corrosion, but basically these connectors here are pretty subject to, the elements. So what I'm putting in are these here. These are waterproof connectors, a little less subject to the elements, and they also, I might put a little dielectric grease in there. There's a lot of debate on dielectric grease, whether or not, what you use it for. It certainly protects contacts, but they say it has more insulating than conductive properties. So if you put grease in there, you could inhibit some of the conduction, but you would certainly be protecting against corrosion. They also make a conductive grease, but I'm not using that right here. The project is done. I have a light down here, one there, and one under the sink. They all work. They're just little lights, but they're pretty powerful. I'm impressed with them, actually. The only other thing I did was I had to replace that switch that was all corroded, and now the fan spins up under there. So, project done. Also newsworthy is the fact that I manually washed some dishes. This battery cutout switch to the inside, because every time I come into this pantry here or go behind the door here to the other pantry, I hit my shin on this thing. I'll patch the hole later, but I'll have this in a good spot that if I needed to use it, I could. The boat has combiners on it anyway, so you really shouldn't need a cutout switch, but sometimes you just need to isolate the battery, and that's a good thing. So here we go. Hopefully by the time I'm done, we'll make this thing look a little bit better than what you're seeing there. This is a late night project. I had this map reading light, and it has these LEDs in it, but some of them were burnt out, and it was really kind of dim. It's been around for a while, and it was that blue light, and better for night vision is red light. Red light is better, so I have these really kind of super bright LEDs. I found this little plastic piece, I don't even know what it's to, and it turns out it fits perfectly. So just simply pop this out and set that plastic piece in there. Nice fit. I'm going to feed this through. Actually clicks in there. Then I'm going to hot glue the back of this just so it stays or doesn't rattle loose. Solder it up into these wires, and we'll see if I now have a red map reading light so it doesn't destroy my night vision on long trips. We'll see how it works. Decent solders, so much easier working with small wires. And now we just gotta hot glue this in. Let's see how we did with the COM nav station upgrade for red light for night. There we go. And turn off the other light here. And that is what I will be seeing at night. I can't record the whole thing, but this project we are reconditioning all of our batteries. Heath and I. Hey Heath.
We finished up the batteries and then got on to this project here. This was the worst project of the trip. We had a few leaks in some of the windows, so we had to dig out all the caulk, and Heath did this in the middle of the day. It took him hours and hours and hours. Then we resealed them and have a more watertight ship now. Thanks Heath, and sorry about that massive sunburn. The fresh water system wasn't in very good shape. We had a lot of work to do. We had to replace pumps that looked like this and hot water tanks that looked like this with pumps that look like this and hot water tanks that look like this. Oh, and Heath and I got to redo it twice.
There's an advantage of having a boat right next to a retired aerospace engineer, because he told us that the fittings we have are probably a little bit too small for the size pipe we use. So we're going to drop down in pipe size. This is 1/2 inch here. That's pretty standard, 1/2 inch. And this is actually 5/8, and we got it because it went on these fittings a little bit easier, but that's probably not a good thing. Plumbed it for the second time. This time we used 1/2 inch pipe, and it fit way tighter. It was much more difficult to get on, and now we have no more leaks on the new system. Alright, from the photos you saw that we were redoing this. We've got the new hot water tank in. We installed this new 3-stage filtration system. It's different from that down there. That's for the water maker inlet. That filters out salt water and gets all the particles out before it goes to the actual desalinization process. But what we were focused on is the fresh water supply, and we reran all the pipes up underneath here so that it's a little more out of the way and frees up maintenance space down below here, because it was super congested and tough to get to things. Alright, today's project was getting this big bilge pump, I think it's 3,500 gallon per hour pump. We installed the switch right there. That's a new switch that allows it to automatically come on if I'm away for long periods. So we had to strip back the wires, put waterproof connectors in, and then when we test it, the water would cause this to float up. And then empty and it turns off. So it works.
It just feels good.
This here is a pretty disgusting job. I don't know if this stove's been cleaned in years. I need to take that and get it looking more like that, but even better. And yeah, I already took it apart. We got all the burners working on it. The burners weren't working before. But man, that is nasty. I sprayed some Easy Off in there, and it's like just all this, look at this stuff. I mean, that's disgusting. Who would want to cook food in that? It's awful. That's like, I don't know what, food slime. I don't even know what that is. Alright, let's clean this thing out. I think maybe I'm supposed to use gloves with this stuff. My fingers feel like soap that won't come off. So whatever's getting all that funk off is also removing my fingers. Okay, some of this stuff is pretty crazy. That's tinfoil stuff down in there. And I found this all over this boat. Rather than fix why the stove isn't working, we'll stuff tinfoil in the holes, because certainly the previous owner knows more than the engineers that designed the thing. So rather than find the root cause and figure out why the stove wasn't hot enough, which probably had a lot to do with the fact that it just had never been cleaned well, we'll just stuff tinfoil in places. I found string all over here. I found a sponge wrapped around a water line with a zip tie, like somehow that's supposed to fix the leak. That was in a different spot. It's ridiculous. There's been hundreds of those little things. They've all been fixed now, but it never, I shouldn't be surprised, I guess. This is just dangerous. Look at all that in there. That's right where it could create a grease fire. It's all gotta come out. Okay, today we're rebedding a deck hatch. This is leaking. I haven't rebedded one before, but I got a pretty good idea how to do it thanks to YouTube. I'm going to tape around the outside first so that when I go to reseal it, I have it in exactly the right spot. Remove all these screws, pop this off, hopefully without too much trouble, and then put a bead down right over the holes so that the screw holes are actually sealed themselves, and then hopefully we have no more leaks. Okay, all taped up here. Screws are mostly removed. I have to take out this hinge to get to those last two in there, and then carefully pry this up. All the jobs have been this tedious. Now we gotta dig out.
Gonna be my girl.
Heath is digging all this stuff out. All around the edge there. Got it off though. Close to fixing. Alright, it's pretty much cleaned out. We got some galvanic corrosion in here a little bit. So we cleaned it out the best we could. Should be able to get a clean seal along all this.
Okay, now here's just routine maintenance time. Barnacles. They're really tough to get on. Get to scrape them. Not this long stuff, but these hard little crusty deals. Right here. They're hard. Calcifications or whatever. I don't know what minerals they make themselves out of, but they're really difficult to get off. And they leave all these little spots everywhere too that I still gotta get off. And you have to
And here is a fun project. This is as much of a mess as what it looks like. This is my VHF radio. It's not powering on. A lot of these electronics are old, but I'm hoping that I can figure out why it's not powering on so that I don't have to buy a new one. If I have to buy a new one, I'll get one with an AIS transponder in it, and that helps with collision avoidance. So we'll see.
So I was just trying to fix a little bit of silicone that was, overused to secure the mic, and I ended up actually destroying this whole radio, so had to order a new one.